So good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the WGL EU Season 4 Match Week 5 is what we're going to be trying to call it today. And I am obviously Lauren Pansy Scott, your host, and I'm joined by the ever-incredible Laughter WOT. How are you doing tonight?
I'm very good, just keeping updated with that football as well, but we've got some great tank action alongside that.
Yeah, there's certainly some fantastic games coming up for you today, some that maybe actually the peak of what I've been looking forward to this season, certainly the one involving School Bus and TCM. That'll be coming up a little bit later. But great games today aside, we need to catch you up with what's been going on in the season so far, especially in the rankings, because this is when it starts to take shape. We're halfway, getting into the season now. We're kind of getting the form or the lay of the land, let's say. And who's really impressing you so far in the rankings alone?
Well, a lot of the new teams have been pretty impressive. We never expected them, like other seasons, to do that well, but they've really stepped up. Druid Leprechauns, obviously a very, very new team, sitting down in 6th place. Pretty impressive stuff from them all around. Evil Panel Squad with so many changes, no one expected them to be quite so good. They're brilliant, and they are sitting up there in 3rd place for that reason. School Bus down there in 4th. I expect them to head up to 2nd. I think a contender between them and Krasnokru is going to be pretty obvious towards that late and middle half of the season, which we are in now. So Denali Sports as well, a little bit disappointed by them. I think they will start getting into their stride a little bit around Matchday 7, Matchday 8, but certainly not doing as well as I would expect them to.
I completely agree. Denali Sports, they made the changes, or at least there was one major change, and the man who left and rejoined another team is now in 2nd place. And Elian there, one of the best players, I feel, who's come out this season looking very strong, not only obviously on the battlefield, but what he's done tactically behind Krasnokru, now in that 2nd place, sitting with 3 wins and 1 draw. I near on feel they could be tied with Virtus Pro if they didn't slip up a little earlier against, I believe, WUSA, which gave them their one impressive result of a draw and 3 losses alongside them. So that's how the season is looking so far. But obviously we need to start looking at today's games, because that's the important factor here, and there's a couple of games that should certainly turn some heads. To start off with, eSuba up against WUSA. Now let's bear in mind WUSA were able to claim that draw against Krasnokru, who are in 2nd position throughout these rankings. So certainly a team with potential, and eSuba yet to really turn heads, in especially our eyes at least. It's been a little bit lackluster. We expected Voodoos to come back in strong and really lead the way, but I've not really seen him at that point yet. He was missing when we saw them last, and it was a little bit disappointing. But still, maybe he's there this time and we can see a little more. I believe he was in. I think he is in this game. So hopefully, to kick off with, he'll be the one to be looking at. Following that, C-Play against Kazna. What can we say about this matchup?
Well, C-Play is 2nd to last alongside eSuba, so they haven't been having too good of a run. Obviously, Virtus Pro and School Bus versus the 2 top contenders for this season, Season 4. Well, I think they're going to do a little bit better. They've been struggling a little bit, TCM and Evil Panel Squad were the 2 next games, losing both of them. But against Krasnokru, hopefully a very good team. They keep their morale up. They've also changed one player. Cole Peter's gone. Magisteria, sorry if I do pronounce your name wrong, is gone in. Obviously a very, very decent player, and hopefully that will give them that little edge they need, which they seem to need to actually go forwards and win. Yeah,
and I want to say C-Play at the very start of this season did pick up a good few maps off some top teams. And speaking of top teams, let's look at the final match of the day. I believe it's going to be the highlight for me, TCM up against School Bus. Now these 2, prolific teams throughout the scene, but still, they both had a couple of surprise results against the same team, funny enough. Lucky Karaki able to pull off a victory against both of them. Yet they're completely and utterly tied up on results. 3 wins out of the 4 games played. So it's going to be a real grudge match between those 2. But anyway, let's start looking at that first game, because that's the one we all really want to see to start off with. See if WUSA maybe can up their game a little, finally get a good win under their belt, or could this be eSuba's time to start shining? And take me through the lineup of who we need to look at.
FKK Schnitzel been doing pretty well for WUSA, I have to say. He's been one of their top players. C, I think he needs to step up a little bit. I think he was a little bit better when he was playing for Morwatt, as was QQ. But I think generally they are starting to get themselves into that team a little bit more, and hopefully will pull out a win against eSuba, which, in my opinion, they've played 3 games not under the flag of Voodoos, who's now playing in this one. So hopefully with their main man in the front leading the charge, they'll be a little bit better. They were a little bit better in their previous matchup when they did play with Voodoos, so hopefully they can have a repeat with a little bit more polish to their performance and hopefully take a win against WUSA. But I think this is a pretty close matchup. Honestly, can't call it. I think eSuba, very, very aggressive. WUSA have been aggressive over the last couple of match days. First couple were very, very slow indeed. Will be interesting to see which of the two they go for this time round.
Yeah, I feel that WUSA has a lot of potential in the individuals there, but eSuba, when they pull themselves together under the reign of Voodoos, they could really do well. And as you said, they were a very aggressive side, eSuba, but they didn't quite have the potency to it. It lacked that little bit of polish towards the end to really claim them the victory, which is the sad fact there. But obviously, guys at home, do make sure you get involved on Twitter and Facebook. The polls and the votes will be up very soon, so you guys at home can tell us who you think will walk away with the victory. Simple as that. You can see it down below us right now. Obviously, WGL on the end of both. And I want to know, do you think, eSuba can step up now they got Voodoos, or maybe WUSA's just a little bit too strong still, and they can't quite manage it? So, I think we are just about getting ready with the tanks coming through. First map, I believe, will be ENSK. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems as though that's the way. Maybe you can double check on that one. I think it is, at least, but yeah. I don't think we'll see too many surprises on the tanks here. It's more how they play this one out.
I think this one's going to be about how WUSA managed to adapt that tactic they use against Kazakhstan. Will they be getting over towards the green side like we've seen them do before?
Yeah.
I think they have a good chance of doing that. It depends if they start on north or if they start south. Obviously, classically from the south, you do head over towards the green side for the north, a little bit more favoured up towards that top third of the city. But it's so many options here. Obviously, if you do start from the north, then you maybe want to look for those 3 IS3s instead of the 350-100s. But generally, these two teams have been okay on ENSK. And generally they've been the better teams on city maps. It's really the Prokhorovkas and the steppes where they've been slacking a little bit, not getting the results they need to. So hopefully they have a good matchup here on ENSK, the first one. In my opinion, I think WUSA is a better team on ENSK. I think they're going to be the ones to really show eSuba where the aggression is needed and where they need to play passively, because at the moment eSuba can't get the balance.
No, they definitely can't, and it is costing them a lot of games. And we saw, eSuba occasionally toying with just pushing down that, center of the map, being aggressive, but not really having much of a, excuse me, a fallback plan once they do this. And we've seen better teams pull it off to some good extent. So the likes of, I look back to Evil Panda squad now with the likes of, Still Mojo in there, and they get a perfect balance of aggression with the support of passive players creating those crossfires. Didn't really see that kind of next level up, should I say, from eSuba, so I'm hoping to see a little bit of that today. I'm hoping they've kind of worked on a couple of mistakes. They've had enough play days now. I think that, that new season shine has kind of started to wear off. You should be, getting back into the form you're previously in, and hopefully we can see a good game here, but we are just waiting on a couple of players to sort out themselves, get the tanks ready, and obviously get ready for this one. But yeah, ENSK, your prediction throughout, though, you said that you believe this will be WUSA's to start with. I tend to agree. Kaznakru did struggle with them, maybe a mistake on Kazna's behalf, but it gives you confidence nevertheless. So overall, though, where do you think this one's going to go?
I think WUSA's been the better team. Simple as that. They've been the more consistent team, at least. They have got that one draw against Kaznakru 2-all. As you mentioned, that was won finally by Kaznakru on this map. ENSK also won against Kazna on Mines as well, so they've been a decent team. eSuba really haven't picked up any maps at all, so it's going to be a real struggle for them. Although, they're the team that beat Spale. I just want to see that eSuba.
Yeah, I want to see that team.
It was a long time ago, to be fair. The relegation matches were played all the way back in December 2013, obviously, unless they played in the future. But if they can bring that form out again, then they're really going to be a danger. We are heading into that middle season now, match week 5.
Yep.
When it is kind of getting to crunch time. You have a half a season to go, but you really need to start getting these results going. So hopefully eSuba can. Yeah,
definitely. There's a lot of teams who start building up at this point within the season as well. I want to point out Denial, previous to now, have always been that mid to late season team who start building. I'm hoping maybe one of these two can do the same. I was looking at C-Play early on to be one of those. They've kind of struggled. They're still down the bottom of the rankings here. But maybe one of these two can kind of bring it through. I believe the tank choices have come in. Is this what we expected?
Well, Voodoo's taking the T69, the team captain of eSuba. A little bit strange. Very old school lineup we first saw when the T69 was introduced into the game. Obviously now it's got 250 heat penetration on the heat ammo instead of 300, so we don't see it so much in these city maps.
Well, we'll find out how much of a factor that is, because up in a second is going to be ENSK. So, ladies and gents, welcome into the first map. It will be eSuba up against WUSA. We're here on ENSK, and in the north, in red, it will be the likes of WUSA. In the south, in blue, it's going to be eSuba. So, both these teams looking to prove a point here to see, well, who's the best of a bad bunch right now. And we are live into the game. So, take us into what we can expect from these two at the very start.
With eSuba's T69, they're going to be looking up that train tracks for the first few shots. Usually beforehand, the T69 stood there and tried to get the shots onto the IS3s, the 5100s. If I was eSuba, I would definitely be looking to counter those 5100s. That's where the T69 strength lies because of the damage and the burst it can do in a short period of time. The better reload also comes in handy, and the spawn Voodoo staying up quite far. That's for eSuba. And for the side of WUSA, sitting up in towards the village area, the city even, looking at the one line and really just trying to get the cross off. So both teams heading up into a different direction. WUSA don't want to hang around. Obviously, they are going quite aggressive at the start. But as is eSuba, as you can see, KKT Gambo is now charging up the 8-9 line in towards the cap of WUSA, maybe looking for a couple of shots, a couple of spots as well, and then giving eSuba the line of sight and the clarity to push forwards onto that green side.
Yeah, and only Killer Pit really would be the first one to spot this out. We normally see a couple of tanks, if I'm not mistaken, you know, around this sort of area. But it looks like WUSA are leaving that completely open, completely stacking this side. At the moment, Laurel and Terra are both falling back, so I think that's because Voodoo's has appeared, taken down that tier 1 almost. Killer Pit just about managing to escape there. But still, this is going to certainly cause a bit of a move from WUSA because they need to get back to a little bit more of a defensive posture here, at least towards the cap circle, because they could get locked out if they're not careful, I feel.
They need to make sure that they have all the eggs in the right basket at the end of the day. They need to keep towards the northern area. They got Killer Pit there, which is good enough. Also, the shots coming out from the Voodoos gives them a good idea of where eSuba was. Obviously, it's a big old wall. Tier 1 will really struggle to take down the wall, so they can say, okay, it's going to be a 5100, an IS3 or T69. So a good start from both teams, a pretty standard start. I think eSuba are going to be the more aggressive one. You can already see how WUSA are just going for those blind shots at the beginning, trying to get the cover down and keep eSuba on their toes. Voodoo's now heading back around, looking for any possibility, any traction onto where WUSA is. He's got a hold down tank, although wouldn't have enough penetration really to deal with anything. Fluky does get taken down by a shot, I believe, from one of the IS3, Stefan or C. So WUSA now in the driving seat.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it was Commandante who's supporting Schnitzer right there down by the south of this map in that 5100. So certainly finding at least the opener here of taking down the tier 1 of Fluky and opening up a little bit of a possibility of them to push forward. And Schnitzer's not afraid to do so, it seems. He's happy to kind of trailblaze the way here, and it's going to at least split the attention a little from eSuba, I can imagine, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to pull anything off. But it seems quite similar between the two. We have almost a north and south divide. We've got a couple of tanks for eSuba up in the north, couple down the south for WUSA, and vice versa. And Schnitzel has been spotted out. He's doing the legwork pretty much for Commandante, as you can see behind him. So those shots coming out of that 5100 are going to be landing. Los Coscos was on the receiving end, so down to 1082 a little early on, but no harm, no foul, I feel.
Not that much damage done onto him. He's not in any real danger, just a little bit of a mistake from him. Could be indicative of how his team is playing right now, the form they're in. That's really unnecessary to take that kind of damage. He's down to 1082, obviously. We'll give him a little less breathing room when it comes down to the firefight, which it often does on ENSK. As Voodoo's now starts to creep around that T69, gets a spot onto Stefan. Both will shoot, both will miss, and they both get away scot-free. But at least, I think, for eSuba, in a little bit better positions, Stefan has got support there from, I believe, one of the IS3s, maybe a 5100, or pretty much the rest of his team, actually. So Voodoo's could be in trouble if he does peak at the wrong time. Yeah,
Sisha's directly there, but as you said, the rest of the side are not far away at all. Terra, Laurel, and all the others very close by. Voodoo's could be in trouble. He is kind of toying with fire here. Stefan is not out on his own. He's got to keep that in mind. And at T69 will kind of fall to pieces if he's not careful. But 5 minutes and 38 seconds left now. We are seeing the tracking shots coming out, but everyone's still rolling forward. And at the moment, who do you think has the upper hand, really? Is anyone doing much here, or is this more of a tit for tat and waiting to bring the game into their favor.
Well, it's pretty hard to do anything in this position because you have to push into a team that's got a superior area of defense or attack, and that's extremely hard. Extremely hard call to make, and Voodoo's just skip away from a couple of dangerous stealths from Stefan and Sich. But he gets the information. All WUSA know is where Voodoo's is, but where eSuba know is that Stefan and Sich and those two IS3s are sitting up in towards the middle. They can guess where the other 5100s will be because, well, they are either going to be at the north or the south or in support of those IS3s, and you know, they just have to make the right call of where they want to push. We've seen eSuba go for the cap before previously, and that hasn't gone too well, but it hasn't gone well for any team. Stenley now gets caught out down to 1178.
Yeah, Commandante doing great work with that 5100. Not doing the biggest damage dealing rolls, but he's at least chipping away here. Now Stefan gets a little caught out from Voodoo's. I'm impressed how aggressive Voodoo's personally is for a captain to be in such an important tank as well in that T69. Something, as you said, we've not seen in a while. He's happy to kind of toe the line there and definitely get in the face of the opponents and give away a little bit of the positioning, but not enough to give away the game. But still, Stefan there now a little bit more careful. Sich is down the line as well, and we can see the split coming out from these guys, and I like this from WUSA. They're happy to kind of add a little bit of pressure, and it looks like they're kind of congregating themselves back as Commandante is retracting away in that 5100. He was previously down by the JK line, really getting those shots across. He was the man to get Stenley and Les Koskos off that ideal HP. So already a little bit of early work, and it looks like we might be seeing them starting to push out here. Yeah,
they want to go for Voodoo's. They see he's unsupported on his own. They want to take him down.
Well, at the moment, it's going pretty damn well for them. Sich and Stefan doing nice shots back to back. He is down to a dangerous amount of HP. 484 is all he's got to work with. It's a very long line he's trying to back away from, and soon enough, there will be a firing squad if they dare to peek across, ready to meet him, but it's Mirage they find first. Mirage gets a little bit of damage as well, but they found a reply. Sich taking at least one, and Mirage somehow withstanding this barrage of shots from the entirety almost of WUSA. I don't know how he's got that much health left. He's only taken one shot pretty much, so now Sich is in trouble. The rest of the squad now appearing down that 5 and 6 line. Los Koskos there and Stenley exchanging shells with Sich. That IS-3 not in the best spot. He needs one more shell and surely he'll fall. It whizzes past him by a whisker. Bounces the second. Surely one's going to land soon to take him down here. This is unbelievably still alive. Stefan trying to help him out. Sich needs to be careful. I'm not sure he can stay alive here. He is toying with fire. And that fire right now is coming from these guys. They're focusing down Stefan rather than Sich. And let's see if they can find a reply. Commandante and Laurel are splitting off. Is this the attack WUSA want, though?
They don't want to engage because of the amount of HP they have. I reckon Mirage from eSuba, he can actually make the real plays here because he is in a great position.
Well, finally, they take down Sich, but not before Mirage receives another couple of shells. But we are seeing the counter split happening. Commandante coming around the side with Laurel, but he gets met with one shot very early on, and now Laurel has to make the reply here. He's pushing forward for Stenley, who's already in a stationary spot. It's not going to go ideally as they exchange. Laurel still on a little bit of better HP here. This is a scrappy battle between these two. Slightly weak focus fire, but Laurel will finally take it down. Stenley and Los Koskos and Voodoo's on a whisker of health, but as is Laurel, as is Commandante. And either side can turn this one around with some brilliant individual play, but who's going to be making these shells and who's going to land them?
Look at Twixo's HP, 1.4k. I'll be very surprised if WUSA can take this one with the amount of HP they have. They have to have perfect focus fire, but Los Koskos needs to react. He needs to reverse out of there, and it's going to be all on Twixo as FKK Schnitzel finally gets himself into the fight with that tier 1. Might put a little bit of pressure onto the cap, but as I said, as that final tier 1 does go down, it's all going to be on Twixo.
Well, Schnitzel goes down, Los Koskos finds him. It's a 3v4 situation. Twixo is outstandingly the healthier of the three, but can he make it count? Because Commandante and Laurel are setting up a small crossfire. Terra should land a shot on the cross. He does so. Twixo does receive a big bit of damage. 303. Make it 643. Twixo might go down here. He does claim one, though. Laurel now eliminated. 54 seconds. Will they play for the win, or will they draw this out? 3v3 situation. Not completely in the favor of eSuba. Twixo can receive a bit. He only gets a track, though, and he does take down another. Commandante removed. It's a 3v2. Terra and Stefan alive. Stefan receives another. It's not looking perfect here, but WUSA find one. But it's not going to be enough. Terra now in a 1v3. 31 seconds left. If he can escape this, he can draw it out, but he's got attention from Mirage. If he crosses this, oh, and he does! He completely negated the fact that Mirage was alive and kicking. And eSuba, can you believe it? Picking up the first map. And I hasten to say, was that more because Twixo stayed out of the fight long enough?
It almost was, but at the same time, he had to make a very hard call because he had to cross those train lines, received a lot of damage, and almost was brought back into the fight down to the HP everyone else has when he was actually engaging. But he did actually get pretty lucky. He got tracked by Mirage. He managed to take down, not Mirage, he managed to take down, I think it was Terrastan and then Laurel. So he went 2 versus 1, won it. So massive congratulations to him. Lost Koskos though, 2.5k damage in a perfect position at 5100. And at the end of the day, the biggest mistake for WUSA, after that they did that initial engagement, which went well because of Voodoo's HP, they should have just continued either going around towards that green zone or rotating back around into the city. They got the better engagement, the initial engagement, but once they stayed there, Mirage being up on the top corner, although he could get pinned down very quickly, he could take down Seashore on that low HP. That gave them the tier advantage. And then from then on, it was just how Twixo managed to play, and if Los Koskos could stay in the game and just leave his mate just to do the rest of the work. So all in all, just bad positioning by WUSA, and eSuba managing to kind of scythe themselves into the game and get themselves some good damage back onto WUSA. Very impressive considering that Voodoo's was playing that T69.
Yeah, no, I want to talk about that T69. Do you feel it had the correct impact? Was it a worthwhile pickup there? I think Voodoo's played very uniquely with it. I wasn't, you know, I liked his beginning. It was very risky, but did it play enough of a role?
It's hard to tell on this. I think I'd have to see a couple more games because of that incredible damage done by Los Koskos, 2.5k. You have to be said that him doing that damage in that AMX 5100 really gave them the win, as opposed to the T69 actually losing the game or winning the game in that situation.
Yeah.
It's more about the individual players, how they, obviously the T69 you can do the damage, but it's how you play the rest of your team together with that T69, and it worked well. I must say the T69 as well put some good pressure on towards the middle.
Yeah,
kept Hull down as well. A little bit too much damage back on. He did get caught out. He shouldn't have been there for too long. WUSA did find that weakness pretty darn quickly onto eSuba. But that was all in all a good old game from eSuba, coming back from being behind certainly, and something we've seen from them before. Good to see that back into form for at least that map. Next map will be Cliff.
Yeah, and Cliff coming up. Not sure what to make of these two teams. Haven't seen any outstanding performances just yet from them. I'm hoping to see something here that might kind of impress us. From what we saw, at least previous to now, and what we saw maybe a little on ENSK, it looks like eSuba is still with this slight aggression there. Voodoo certainly was happy to get in the faces of the opponents, happy to show his hand, and did quite well off the back of it, obviously picking up the first map. But could you find anything here that would be similar to that, maybe, that he could play that role of? Is this a map that will allow that aggression, or is it something they need to kind of slow a little down on?
Well, they could take the 416, I guess, but again, it's not really the same role as the T69.
Yeah.
The IS3 could come out, the 5100, but it's not like Ruinberg where you can pick a heavy tank and actually win the game. It's still Cliff where positioning is the most important thing, and managing to get that damage down. We saw TCM go up against Lucky Karaki with the 2 IS3s. Did not work out at all well for them, so I don't think it would work out well for other teams as well. I think it's more about the position, as I said before, and really how you play those T69s in the middle, the hull down positions. You can take a 5100. It's been doing reasonably well.
Still not sold by the IS3s
sold
at
on
least, if you were talking about heavy tanks. I didn't like the IS3 before.
Yeah, it's too slow at the end of the day, but it looks like we've got pretty standard lineup. From WUSA, it's a triple AMX 3090, double T69, double T1, and from eSuba, the double T69, double AMX 3090, and the IS3 and the double T1. We'll have to see how the IS3 does.
Well, it's time for the second map. Currently, eSuba are leading. Let's see if WUSA can bring it back on Cliff. So, second map coming up. It will be Cliff, and in the south in red it's going to be WUSA. In the north in blue it is eSuba, currently leading with 1 map to the good. Last map, it was ENSK. Very different beast. But what are we going to see here, Oliver?
eSuba heading up in towards the lighthouse base. I think we'll see a little bit more aggression from WUSA. Better positioning, to be honest. I like their lineup compared to eSuba's. Stanley in the IS3 will really have to prove his worth if he can be in the right positions at the right time and get the damage down. The IS3 very, very bad in gun depression heavy positions. That's where the IS3 struggles, and that's where it'll probably struggle here if eSuba don't managing to get him around there. Terrastan and Voodoo's getting a couple of spots out. Looks like WUSA playing pretty standardly, and I wonder if they're going to go for an early engagement, the early positioning game with the T69s and try and get that damage down.
Oh, Commandante tried it a little, but he hit the ground in front of him instead, so not the perfect start. He's spotted out Mirage at least. Stefan willing to get involved as well. A couple of shots coming back. Mirage does get a little bit of damage towards him. Good work so far, but he's going to have backup. They have to be careful with these shots coming out. They've caught 2 towards him. Good initial play. They back away, play it safe. Oh, they even catch another. Mirage really going low early on 369. That is a perfect start from WUSA.
They had the similar thing against Voodoo's though in the T69, and they didn't manage to win that one. So Mirage still has a chance here, as does eSuba. But yes, indeed, WUSA are doing very well at this point in time, and they only need to really push forwards and keep that damage down, keep the pressure onto eSuba. Don't let the IS3 get into the game. Stenley in a very interesting position behind this rock, trying to get some shots onto Terrastan. This is pretty much what TCM's plan was, except the IS3s where Twixo and Los Coscos were. And basically what happened was Terrastan's position taken up by one of the TCM players, and there's one on the hill as well, and they just continued to batter the IS3s down. This is what it looks like is going to happen against eSuba as well, as Stanley is down to 1000 HP. Twixo's almost there as well. Mirage 369. So a lot of shots heading towards eSuba, and they're not managing to bounce very many or get very many back onto WUSA, as they're still sitting pretty, as Seek has only taken 4 HP. All in all, I think, again, it's going to be about the positioning. I think WUSA have got a better chance. They need to get those T69s into the best places possible and just use them for the damage at the start, use their gun depression, and flank those AMX 1390s around and come in from the side.
Yeah, Mirage getting low early on might cause a little bit of a chink in the armor. We'll see if it comes into effect if WUSA actually push on it. Stefan did take a little bit of damage back, so, you know, how much is enough damage to really start committing? That's the big question to me. You know, especially on maps like this, they still have to get Stanley a little lower, I feel. Would that be the case they need to work on? Or is he still low enough that they might start, you know, for a push? Or is it just these shots constantly picking at him, making that HP a little lower?
Yeah, you really need to kill, to be honest.
Yeah.
You want to get the gun out of the game before you actually push in. The HP is so-so. It's obviously important. And the more HP taken off and spread out through the rest of the team, the better. Obviously, if you get one tank down to low HP, then when you do push in, you'll be able to take it down within, let's say, 1 or 2 shots. But at the end of the day, these are extraordinarily good teams, and they'll keep that one weak tank in a position where it can't get taken down at the beginning, and it'll still have its gun and it'll still be doing damage. So that's always good to keep in mind. I think you want a good spread of damage throughout the team, and the more the better, and that's what WUSA obviously want at the end of the day, and they are going to be continuing to pester eSuba. Still missing a trick by not putting anything onto the hill yet. You can actually get up there in an AMX 1390 without being spotted completely, especially considering that, well, there's not really that many tanks here, but it looks like eSuba are starting to now flank around, making a move of their own, sending Twixo, Los Coscos and Fluky around on the flank, the 1 tier 1, the 2 T69s, looking for another way in, and maybe looking for that aggressive play, because at the moment WUSA is firmly in the driving seat, and they certainly have the more HP for it.
Well, this could be dangerous. Laurel has spotted out Fluky there, so that should be an easy shot, but Los Coscos might not be. Laurel has committed way too much here. 2 shots back to back. This could be disastrous. Can he escape now down to 356, 144? He doesn't make it out, and eSuba do claim the first big kill coming in here. It may have gifted a little bit of the kind of game away, but still, it's going to force WUSA to really have to pull themselves together now.
That was an unbelievable play from eSuba, managing to get the T69 in the right position. Stenley takes a couple of shots, but that T69's heat doesn't do very much against the IS-3. Manages to bounce a good 2 or 3 off the side, and now suddenly eSuba back in the game.
Yeah, but Terrastan did exactly what you said, got up to that hill, and the fire will be coming in from above, but it actually lands from behind, and that's Stenley out of the game. But this kind of split between the two is going to really force these guys out here. Commandante left to deal with the two-man split down towards the west side. Siege coming back in with Stefan to focus on towards Voodoo. Stefan and Voodoo's going back and forth with these shells, 1 for 1 each way across. Voodoo's surely going to fall here. He finally goes down, but Stefan taking a lot of damage for that work. And now let's see where the rest of the fight will come through. It looks like Commandante could be in trouble. He's been absolutely decimated, as now it's really a 2-for-2 trade overall, but who's come out the better here?
I think eSuba could be in the better position. The only thing they don't have is a tier 1, but because of Mirage's position up here, it doesn't matter because the cap pressure can't be put on. And I think KKT Gambo is going to be able to take down Killer Pit there as he crosses through. Doesn't manage to kill him, but Mirage will follow up with the final shot. So it is now a 4-on-4 situation. eSuba have the more HP. Los Coscos sitting pretty up there with 1,350. The highest one for us, WUSA, is obviously Sikh in the AMX 3090. And the positioning is slightly better for WUSA though. They have the higher ground with Terrastan, but he is sitting on the MX 3090, which obviously the gun depression will be a little bit of an hindrance. The aim downtime also and the accuracy on the MX 3090 won't make it reliable.
Well, as you said, Siege has pushed up quite far, to be fair. I'll be interested to see how he actually plays this one out. Stefan fairly low in that T69 though. He's probably lagging behind a little. But the impressive part is, let's look at it this way. Mirage has taken no more damage than he did at the start. Twixo literally has an aversion to taking any damage, as we saw in the previous matchup, the one who almost won it for eSuba, and Los Coscos yet to receive a shell. So, as you said, I kind of agree with you that eSuba still have a really good fighting chance in this, but I'm looking at what WUSA can do now. What are their options here?
Well, they need to kind of find a way of taking down Los Coscos and Twixo. I mean, it'd be great to kill Mirage, but he is sitting in a pretty decent position. Seek is following onto Mirage. Mirage could be in a bad position if he does end up shooting, getting spotted. So he's got to shoot before he's not committed, and that gun depression is definitely not helping him. He can still get shot from the side, depends on where WUSA's tanks are. I believe he'll be okay if he does make the shot here, but Terrastan now getting spotted on the hill. So in the end, eSuba certainly have the information advantage right now. They need to capitalize on it. First shell comes across. Terrastan receives one. Not spotted for Mirage, though he is okay at this point in time.
Yeah, Terrastan is a good idea, though, as you can see. He knows roughly where it came flying out from, but Terrastan adjusting around. They're going to try and focus themselves together, it seems, down towards the east side of this map. And is this to draw it out, or is this to go for a victory? Well,
Mirage is a great KKT, a very good spot onto a lot of the tanks from WUSA. They really have a good idea where they are, 3 of them at least. So this is going to be eSuba's way in. They got 1 minute and 51 seconds to win this one. That if they throw it, it will be their game to lose at the end of the day. And they're just going to flank around the back, take WUSA from the behind, and really, really make it hurt, because at the moment Twixo and Los Coscos have been absolutely fantastic in those T69s. But Twixo is heading up. That could waste a lot of time, because the AMX 3090 is just going to be able to jump off the hill very, very quickly indeed.
Yeah, Siege and Stefan seem to be expecting this push around the side as well, so it may be a little bit of a counterplay from these guys if it comes down to it. Let's bear in mind Siege and Stefan both eyeing it up. Twixo is going to probably surprise Terrastan, who has no idea what is coming up and over that hill. Certainly could be a monster, but 1 minute left. Have to make a move soon, eSuba, if they want to do this. And here we go. Twixo has spotted out Terrastan. Terra, I don't think he can even turn his turret in time. He's going to go for Los Coscos. He takes 2 shells from Twixo. 1 more will finish off the job. Can he escape this? Can he evade it? He's evaded 1. Oh, it's not enough. Twixo will land it in the end. And now we have those 3 tanks left. But Siege still fighting. Takes down Los Coscos. Mirage, though, ready to get these shells counting now. But he's going to take 1. Stefan's still alive. Stefan's down to a 1-shot. But can they make Mirage pay here? Siege is moving in for the kill, trying to block it off. But his teammate still goes down, and still Siege and Schnitzel left alive, but I feel this could be over for them. But 30 seconds, is it enough?
30 seconds is the biggest problem for FKK Schnitzel. I think Siege might go down, but WUSA are just going to go for the draw. At KKT Gambo just in complete no man's land, trying to stop the cap. They should be aggressive with that tier 1 at the end of the day, and I think this one's going to end in a draw because of FKK Schnitzel. Once again, these teams not being aggressive with the tier 1s, not going for the win at the end of the day, and that's going to be a real problem. Siege does take down Mirage there, but no consequences, as both still alive. But eSuba being the better team for sure, but once again, teams not going aggressive with the tier 1s is going to lose or draw them games.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly there. KKT Gambo not really capitalizing on the chance they had, as did Schnitzel. And I'm kind of curious why no team went for it. Both of them had moments of having the advantage, and they kind of let it fizzle out a little, I feel. They kind of just went, oh, it's not enough of an advantage just to go for. Is that them being uncomfortable on Cliff, or just uncomfortable as a team?
Well, they want to keep the cap covered, basically. You keep the cap covered with a tier 1, and you stop them from possibly winning there. But it makes no sense to me, because you can keep the cap cover with an AMX 1390. You just flank it around, you push in, and you'll be able to take down that tier 1 no problem. Send KKT Gambo up the 1 line. That way you can at least say, hey, look, these guys are capping. They're not capping. He's just so useless where he was. It made absolutely no sense. Yeah. You had the other parts of the map spotted. You just send him up one place where you aren't, and then you get all the information from that area. You find FKK Schnitzel, you take him down, and it might have been a win, although some bad play all around by Mirage there didn't manage to take down Seek. I think Twixo could have hit a couple more shots, but it would have been a draw either way. It would just be nice to see teams being a little bit more aggressive with that tier 1s, because we've seen plenty of draws and losses because of they haven't. Next map, though, will be Himmelsdorf. I must admit, eSuba looking like a very, very strong team. In 2 rounds now, first one obviously a win, second one the potential win if we had another couple of minutes, so certainly going to be dangerous here on Himmelsdorf as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to seeing them on this map, and I think they actually had, were they the team that stacked out the hill first of all and came back off it?
It was against Kazna,
I think it was, and they did get caught out in the end there.
Yeah, they got caught in the cross.
I think that was an Elian kind of moment as well when he pulled off some great things, but you know, they did have a bit of a plan on this one, so certainly look and see if they can bring something out like that here, maybe to not necessarily surprise WUSA, but at least kind of determine the game's outcome, because at the moment it seems to be going down to these 1v1 exchanges, these kind of blow-for-blow battles, which is fine, but it's nice when these teams have the opening strategy and then run off the back of it, when they have this kind of like, alright, this is plan A, Plan A kind of fumbles here and there. We have this backup plan. We'll fall back to this. That's kind of what I want to see out from these guys. And eSuba certainly showed some potential towards it before when they first got Voodoo's back in. It looked like they had something similar on ENSK, at least with that T69 play. That's not something you normally see. That's got to be a pre-made plan.
Strange, yeah.
Out on Himmelsdorf, I don't think we're going to see any crazy tank choices. But, you know, at the moment, they have a lot of 5100s here. Yeah, they got
quadruple 5100. And tactic we've seen sometimes from the Russians, but eSuba have been known to pick those French auto-loading tanks, and plenty of them. Obviously, if you hark back to Season 1 on Steps, where they used to pick 5, did pretty well with them as well, but it's always very hard to get them into the right position. We've seen this quadruple 5100 lineup before, and again, it's going to be all about their firepower, and if they can find a way into WUSA, they're going to be very, very dangerous, because obviously the IS-3 is better for sustained damage. It can take a lot more damage, but when it comes down to it, the 5100 will just absolutely wipe it off the face of the earth. You always want as many 5100s as possible. The only reason why you pick the IS-3 is because the first 3 or 4 minutes, when you're trying to get a few shots out here and there, you want to try and avoid as much damage as you can at the hull down positions, at the side scraping positions, obviously where a 5100 won't work. But at the end of the day, the 5100 is always going to be a little bit better, although albeit slightly harder to play.
We'll see. We'll see how this one goes down. Your predictions?
I think eSuba could take this one. They look, their strongest map so far was Himmelsdorf, so they weren't impressive on ENSK or Cliff, although they were this time around, so maybe they're going to be better here. Well,
it's eSuba's map to lose. We are now still in their favour slightly, but can they really drag the victory ahead? Let's find out on Himmelsdorf. So, welcome to map number 3. It will be Himmelsdorf. And in the south in red, it'll be WUSA. In the north in blue, it'll be eSuba. And those names are horribly similar when I say them like that, but still. We'll see if eSuba can get up to a 2-0. Will it be tied up all even after the last map was a draw? But I want to see where these 5100s go to right now.
Yeah, all four heading up towards the hill. As to be expected, obviously, you want to get the hill dominance if you have the domination with the 5100s. Twixo sitting in the middle. Stanley heading over to the right side in his lone IS-3. WUSA doing very much for the same, sending 4 tanks up, although it's going to be all their firepower tanks indeed. The only one not going up there is going to be Stefan and FKK Schnitzel. He's sitting in the tier 1, so they got 3 firepower tanks, 3 combat tanks heading up for obviously eSuba's 4. So in engagement, they're certainly going to be the better ones. Although actually eSuba haven't got so many tanks up there. Los Coscos, Twixo, Stenny, so 2 combat tanks sitting down on towards the basin for eSuba, 3 heading up. But still, their 5100s are going to be blowing away anyone that does try and cross that area. But all in all, pretty standard start, I would expect. I think honestly. We won't see anything too incredible. It's going to be more about just that 1 second of pure brilliance and really getting the firepower down.
Well, first couple of shots are coming out there, and it's Schnitzel landing them, but no one else kind of giving away the game just yet. Both tier 1s on the hill. Why are they putting both up there?
Maybe just try and get the hill dominance. They're not worried, supposedly, again, about the 1-2-3 line. That could give WUSA a way in. The 1-2-3 line is the best position to push, in my opinion, from the south. Fluky does take a few shots, wins that engagement though, takes down FKK Schnitzel, and KKT Gambio comes away with the first frag. So good stuff from eSuba, getting that tier 1 advantage, getting the hill domination as well. Ooh. Certainly going to be a good factor when they go through this game.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean the WUSA are backing away. Actually, they're kind of edging a little further forward. No, there we go. Finally, Commandante kind of readjusting, but Laurel is pushing up as well. These guys are happy to get a little bit aggressive on this hill. I'm kind of curious where they're taking this, because they're willing to challenge up here. Is this a good move or a risky move? Well,
it made no sense from eSuba side, because they won the tier 1 engagement. They could have put the 5100s just over that hill and waited for WUSA to push up and get the first couple of shots off, reverse. You have the HP advantage, you also have that tier 1 advantage to go alongside it. And straight away you're in the better position in the game. Voodoos takes a big shell from the back though from Stefan, 393 off that 5100. Really bad positioning from him. I think even on random battles you get caught out there. But he's still going to try and reverse a little bit. Gets punished again, down 361 this time. And Voodoos, for some reason, just wants to get himself shot.
Not sold by this, Voodoos. You're the team captain here, buddy. Lead by example. And the moment goes unspotted finally, but Stefan, Seish, and everyone else keeping certain eyes across, and WUSA claiming this hill pretty much as their own. There is Mirage trying to still be in the battle, but he's taking a bit of a pounding. 2 shells already landing towards him. He's down at 856. Voodoos is low. They can easily just go for this, and they are. There we go. Commandante with a lovely little finishing blow to take him out of the game, punishing him for the mistakes they made very early on.
Made no sense what they did then. It made absolutely 0 sense. Everyone knows.
What on earth is Twixo doing?
I don't know, man. He's split push. He's obviously a Twix, but at the end of the day, everyone knows on Himmelsdorf when you play on random battles, you don't sit where you do with Voodoos, and it's certainly going to punish them. 1 tier 8 tank down. Maybe going to try and go for the cap, although Twixo setting off towards the left side, not going for that. Maybe going for the rotate, but they have been spotted, so WUSA immediately know where they are, and it's now going to be 3 versus 1.
Well, 3v1's not start off the way they wanted, but it certainly will end that way. But Twixo doing great damage, actually. He's going to go low, 389. But Laurel and Commandante splitting around the side, using the map perfectly. Going to come around and surely take him down, but still, more damage speed. They don't have reload. That's unbelievable. Such a mistake. And look how low Laurel is. He is down to nothing, 219. But finally, Los Coscos and Stenley get there. But can they do any more damage? Stenley doesn't take the first, but he will the second. Los Coscos is low. Stenley playing a defense game now. But will the rest of WUSA be able to mop this one up? Only 3 tanks to find, and here we go. Los Coscos and Stenley, the last 2 alive, and they are being pincered in and moved in on. They know exactly where their opponents are. Stefan goes for the peak. Siege comes round, and this is surely going to be the killing blow from Stefan. One more shell will do it. Laurel dare peak on such low HP. Stenley from the side takes a little bit of a beating, and this is just embarrassing play from eSuba. One more tank really standing. Stenley from every side gets decimated by WUSA, and WUSA tie this back up all even. And what on earth did eSuba just do?
Played like random battles, honestly. It was pretty poor. I think a couple of mistakes did put them through there, but all around and a really bad performance. First mistake, obvious one. Voodoo's pushing over the hill. I mean, we've had 3 seasons now in our 4th season of the Wargaming League, and you never see someone push into his position at 5100.
No one.
I don't push into that position when I'm playing in random battles because I know, A, I can get shot from behind. He took 800 damage in that position.
2 shells at least.
From the side, from the back of the turret. And then the problem is you can't actually go anywhere. If you try and get off the hill, you get shot from those from the
3
rubble.
5100s.
Exactly, and you try and flank around, you're going to get destroyed as well. So you have absolutely 0 options. So that was a big problem. Voodoo's getting killed there. And then the push from eSuba, the basic idea was to catch those 5100s as they rotated back off the hill. It did kind of work, and I think it would have worked if they had another 5100 there. It was 2, then they could have taken 1 down. The problem is it took for them too long. The other 5100s from WUSA got off reload and managed to take down Los Coscos. So all in all, just quite a few big problems from eSuba. I think they had a decent tactic, a decent idea at least, but WUSA just playing the standard stuff.
Yeah.
Even with 1 less 5100, they still managed to win the hill, which was just unbelievable.
Baffling choices by eSuba, and this was a map that eSuba were fairly good on.
I thought, yeah.
You know, they actually had a couple of tactics that were like, okay, they're a couple of steps away from being proficient, but they certainly had a little bit of potential. And they've just gone, okay, well, the potential we had, let's just kind of ignore that. You know, all the slight glimmers of hope that we showed, scrap that,
screw it.
And let's just go back to playing mind-blowing games of, well, tanks. Still not quite sure what they're getting up to.
Yeah.
But the next map is going to be Mines. And currently we are tied at 1-1 going into the 4th map, I believe.
Yep.
So this could be starting towards a decider here. You know, if someone picks up the victory or 1-0 almost on this one, you're pretty much in with a good shot of either walking away with a win or a draw. So these two teams should be coming out fighting for this.
They have to, really.
Yeah,
they
there's
really
no
have
two ways.
to. Both of them are sitting down quite low on that leaderboard.
Pretty much at the
eSuba
bottom.
with 0 and WUSA with only 1 draw, so they are eSuba's right at the bottom in 12th.
Yep.
WUSA's in 11th, in 10th even. That's not good. And honestly, I think I have the feeling that whoever wins this series, this best of 5, will actually start heading up that leaderboard. That will be their moment of glory, and then they get the motivation, the momentum going into the rest of the games, and we could see either eSuba or WUSA, you know, start looking at top 6 again. I think it's going to be hard, but we still got plenty of match days, obviously match week 5 even, and 6 to go, so obviously 11 match days in total, plenty of time to make a comeback.
Yeah, there is time, but it's worrying.
It's running out.
It summed that up perfectly. It's really a little bit close to that marker, and this is when we start seeing most teams becoming a little better. It's when they start becoming a little bit stronger, when they start, you know, really working on all the issues that may have plagued them in the first couple of play days. You know, this is when I start expecting to see in denial going, okay, guys, these were the issues. Let's now resolve them. Let's work on them. Let's build up. And the same can be said with TCM for EPS. Any of the other teams who've been regulars this season, they get to this point, and any sort of problems in the first couple of play days or matches that they play, they're like, all right, well, this was the issue here. Let's make sure for the next couple of play days we work on this, and then they start building up that scoreboard. And that's when we get that ridiculous tie out for the top 6. But these two just seem to be slacking a little bit on that front, and I hope that this will be the boost they need to get up there. And I pray to God it doesn't end in a draw, because, you know, these two teams need something. Anyway, the tank choices are coming in for Mines, which will be our next map. What are we seeing so far here between these two?
So from the south, I believe it's going to be WUSA with the double MX3090, double T69, T32, double tier 1, and eSuba triple MX3090, T69, T32, double tier 1. So both teams opting for that tier 8 American heavy tank, the T32, of course. going to be keeping it hull down. That's kind of a standard now. Pretty damn good as well. Teams are really starting to make it work for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to be questioning how eSuba's going to play that hill, because they have picked the AAA MX-1390, so it is indicative of that hill play. Otherwise, you just pick another T32, you pick another T69 or even a Pershing. So if eSuba can get that hill, they might have a chance, although we've seen a lot of teams counter that hill tactic, and that could always be a factor.
Yeah, and we have seen some interesting tactics from WUSA here. They were the ones to kind of go up on the cliff side and utilize that a little bit. It was Schnitzel, I believe, once he picked up the 1390 today. He is in a tier 1, so I can imagine that's not going to happen. But this does look like a flat-out hill brought to you, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure if WUSA will go for it, because they've only got 2. I think WUSA will be a little bit calmer at the beginning, and go for the later game. I honestly prefer eSuba's lineup. I love that AAA MX-1390. As long as they play it aggressively at the start, don't let the T32 and the T69 and the killer pit from WUSA get into the game, it's going to be very, very hard for them to win it. So, all in all, I'm not convinced that either of these two are particularly good at mines, so it could be quite a static game. But again, it's not a double T32 lineup from either, so we won't be seeing, your base camp or exactly your hold down position, your standard hold down position. There's no IS3 here either, so I think it's going to be pretty aggressive, but nothing too spectacular. We're just waiting on WUSA to find a TeamSpeak so they can join in.
Yeah, I think they're having a couple of issues. But your predictions, who's going to win this one, or is it literally just down to who's landing the shots now? They have such a similar lineup.
So similar. I think hopefully eSuba. I think eSuba being a better team so far.
Yeah.
Lacked on HIMMELSDORF, but this is not HIMMELSDORF, this is more like Cliff. So they were better on Cliff, so they might be better here on Mines as well. But WUSA are slowly but surely becoming better and better per match week. So at least they have a little bit more confidence after that win on HIMMELSDORF. Maybe they're going to bring out all their guns, all their tactics, all their main firepower here on Mines. I'm not convinced about that either, so
Where's your money?
I'm only guessing. I would say eSuba for me.
I'm looking at who's playing which tanks now as well. When it was Voodoo's in the T69 on ENSK, he was quite impressive. He was aggressive to a point. He did get caught out in the end, but I kind of liked his play at the start. But he's now on the 1390, so he now needs to be absolutely on point. That's up against Seish as well, who's in the other 1394. WUSA, obviously, Seish, very good player, very experienced player. A bit lacking on Cliff at times, but I don't know. I've not been sold by WUSA on this map. I'm going to go for eSuba as well, but I think we are just seeing these guys get themselves ready, so he'll be away from our faces very soon. Do not fear. I think I'm with eSuba, but it's literally like, who do I think's not as bad on this one? As terrible as that sounds, it's
true.
They haven't shown that potential yet. If I saw C-Play on here, who are still very much at the bottom of the league, I would back C-Play in a heartbeat, because they pulled off that great rotation off the hill. They truly led the pace, so it's not down to just the rankings that matter to me. It's the way they played it, and to my opinion at least, C-Play have been certainly playing it better than most who are down the bottom of this league, but yet to see that really. WUSA did show a little bit of a glimmer of hope before, as we said, with some unique tactics, but I kind of hope that we see something a little bit more robust than the just, let's put this tank in a random position and hope it pays off, because it's great for the surprise factor. You'll do a little bit more damage than you expect to, maybe, but then we saw the final execution. I think it was against School Bus, and Apple Wow and Co just overwhelmed them. There was no getting out of that. That's as simple as it is. And I think it was Apple Wow who actually foiled them going for the same tactic when they tried to boost someone up on the hill again, and then they rolled off and just destroyed them. So it's that kind of very narrow thinking and kind of tunnel vision towards what they want that's kind of caused me to not have so much faith. I'm hoping eSuba can kind of gather themselves here. Obviously, guys at home, get on Twitter, tweet to myself at They Call Me Pansy, or to my co-caster Laughter WOT with who you think is actually going to walk away with this one. Currently tied up at 1-1 with one draw in the mix as well. I still think overall eSuba should walk away with this, but they've been so hit and miss, so occasionally good, so occasionally bad, and HIMMELSDORF is hard to get over when it was so drastically wrong that they made mistakes that your average tank player doesn't, which is something that's just baffling to me. You don't get to this point by being unable to play tanks. They beat one of the top 6 teams before to get in here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like fizzled to nothing. So I'm hoping we get these technical issues resolved nice and quickly while we're waiting. I should check up on other scores in other games. It's going pretty well in this other game. 9-11.
Not really.
Woo, it's getting close. I think we are ready. There we go. WUSA is now ready. Everything is resolved. I can tab back into the game. There's a lot of different games going on right now in very varying sports.
The most important of which is obviously the football.
Football. But
which is
stay here,
not
don't
going
watch
well
us.
at the moment.
Yeah, tweet through to us with those results as well. We like updates. But yeah, we are waiting on the countdown to begin. As soon as it does, we'll be getting into game nice and quickly. And we'll be finding out who might be walking away with a slight advantage, as it just got tied up on HIMMELSDORF with eSuba fumbling the ball. So guys, we are ready. So let's get underway into Mines. So, welcome into battle number 4. It will be Mines as promised, and in the south, in blue, it will be eSuba. Team just fumbling that last map. And in the north, in red, it'll be WUSA, who showed that potential, well, in the start, but we'll see if they can kind of bring that on now. So, what are we seeing so far?
Triple MX 3090 of eSuba as predicted, heading up towards the hill. Los Coscos didn't get the greatest spawn in the world, so he'll be a little bit late to the party, but still, the double MX 3090 of WUSA, I don't think they'll even contend for it, although the T69 is going to be in a great position there. Might do some damage. That's Seek actually playing with a small 75mm.
Yeah, Siege coming in early, does a little bit of damage and backing away. Mirage and Voodoo's receiving. Oh, he just evades Twixo's shell as well. That's really nicely done from Siege. And the reply shot will come in from Killer Pit there, taking Twixo a little lower. But still, not massive amounts of damage done, and the hill is now in the hands of eSuba. What can they do with it here?
They can do a lot, because Seek is playing the 75mm, only does like 130 damage per shot. Yep. He got himself into a good position and managed to do some little bit of damage. I mean, Mirage down to 689, but now going forwards, that 75mm becomes a hindrance as opposed to a pro, because it doesn't do anything when you push on. There's the Stanley with 1,550 HP. It probably will bounce 70-80% of the shots from the front, maybe even the side, so you're going to struggle against that. Even against the MX 3090, you still need a good 7-8 shots to take it down, while it only needs 4 shots to take you down. So all in all, it's going to be hard for them. Maybe 5 shots, I'm not sure. But I think from now on, it's going to be all on eSuba to take this win. WUSA had the initial play, but now the long game is firmly in the side of the Czechs, and going to be heading around with a Voodoos from the side, looking for a way into WUSA's defense, and that damage is going to be really, really key. It's going to be crucial for them. They just need to make it count where it hurts.
It looks like WUSA are actually adjusting around here, not fancying those 1v1 exchanges as kind of expected. Commandante and Stefan will be left to hold on to that, whereas Sish sliding down and having to join a more passive spot, because as you said, he cannot deal that real damage towards the later game here. Voodoo's has appeared on, and you can see the quick turret turn from Laurel to try and maybe help out Terra. As Terra stands still alive somehow. I'm not sure how he's doing this. Oh, he's still a little bit away. The names are deceivingly close. But still, good work from eSuba, looking for varying options. Not really finding too many for WUSA, though. They're adjusting around towards the lighthouse, maybe. Is this an option they should be looking towards?
Maybe. Maybe a flank from behind will do them good because of where Voodoo's is, and the whole of eSuba are pretty much over towards that northern village, eastern village area, Los Coscos, Voodoo's, and there's also a tier 1 of KKT Gambo. Commandante does receive a shell from Voodoo's, who managed to escape out of that situation pretty ASAP, so a little bit of a reset of the fight. But I have to say, eSuba are playing a dangerous game because they are really, really waiting for them. Voodoo's takes a shell there, and his ammo gets taken down, so he's going to have to repair that once it does come to that reload. Just another bad piece of play from him, not knowing when he's unspotted. That's basically World of Tank skills, and he seems to doesn't have them in that situation. Maybe indicative of him not playing the game enough and not being in the scene for very very good amount of time. We'll have to see if that does improve as we go through the season. Stanley trying to get a shot onto the Lighthouse Island, but it's pretty static at the moment. I wouldn't expect much to happen, although Steech does receive 302 damage for being a little aggressive on that Lighthouse Island.
Yeah, and considering that was one of the fallback plans, maybe a little bit short-sighted from Steech, who receives another. He's down to 539, and I don't know why he didn't play this a little smarter, because he did have a slight glimmer of hope, at least being on there. He could have come around on the flank and done a little bit of work, but at present he's kind of given away the game a little early on with 5 minutes and 56 seconds left. Has anyone got an advantage, or is this another slightly weak display?
Well, technically, WUSA has the advantage of HP. Seek, though, being in such a bad position, he could get caught out within a split second by Mirage, but he's just reversed off the hill. So once again, that doesn't come into the equation. Seek trying to make a couple of shots. Voodoo's taking a couple for his good. And at the end of the day, eSuba just needs to rotate back off this village. There's no point being here anymore. And Voodoo's just going to receive more and more damage from those blind shells of the T69. So all in all, I wouldn't say any team has an advantage at this point in time. Stanley's going to get pushed up a little there. Good positioning, actually. I've never seen that happen before. Never seen that.
Well, that's unique.
That is unique, and I'm not sure why even the great T32 with that.
Oh, you almost hit Laurel there.
The ultra hull down tank won't even be able to head over that. But at the end of the day, good stuff from eSuba, knowing these positions well, and Laurel almost receiving his shell. So eSuba at least looking for a win.
Yeah, and where it looks like WUSA are looking for a way out, they're just kind of turtling down. Not a great deal going on between them. You know, Laurel there literally glued to this rock for the vast majority of this game, and we can see their positioning. It's as passive really as you can get. Seech can't move. Let's ignore him basically. Comandante and Stefan have not moved since the start of the game. Laurel in this very static spot. Terra doing a good job keeping eyes on Voodoo's, but you know, it's this static, very, you know, unimaginative play that is very frustrating to watch, especially when these teams need a win. Voodoo's still not rotating out of that position. Ooh. Nice work towards Comandante there, but still, it's very slow-paced. It's not quite as forward-thinking as we've seen other teams coming out with, and it might cost them a position here. The more fire coming in, though, I'm surprised Voodoo's is still alive, and Comandante might fall here. One more shell will do the job, but Voodoo's has to be careful. He can't overextend completely. And Stanley rearing his ugly head again. As we're seeing a couple of shells flying back. Voodoo's must be in a good spot here, but there we go. Finally, the shell will come through from Voodoo's, but is it worthwhile being out on a limb like this? Killer Pit's even receiving a bit. Seech is going to be going low. Finally, we're seeing a little bit of an execution from eSuba. They're finally pressuring them. The positions from Los Coscos and Fluky certainly allow that, and this is much better work. They're
actually getting themselves into the best position possible. Stefan and Killer Pit are going to try and rotate back on around into Stanley, but that tank is an absolute beast, and they're just going to find themselves even in more trouble than they already are.
Well, Stefan does get tracked. Bouncing shell towards Stanley, but can Stanley survive this 2v1? He is down to nothing. 126, one more shell, and he'll be out of there. He's going to go for the... Well, he's tried to escape. Currently, he's in a little bit of a tricky situation there, but he does have backup, and that backup is doing severe damage. Killer Pit and Stefan outstayed their welcome, and they're going back into the crosshairs of Voodoo's. A lucky bounce for Killer Pit keeps him alive, but one more shot and he is out of there. He's been a linchpin for this lineup, and he's now down. Stefan's in the line of fire from Los Coscos, and that is brilliantly done from eSuba, taking their time, but lovely execution towards the end, leaving 3 alive, 1 damage dealer being Laurel. And let's see where he's at. He is in a world of trouble. One more shell coming in from any tank you'd like. It's Twixota gifted in the end, and Voodoo's has been dancing with Terrastan the whole time. And surely Voodoo's will enjoy this one, and it will give eSuba a good lead going into that final map. And there we have it. Voodoo's is going to take him down any second now. Just ramming him down, really making it hurt. And well, one more push. Ooh. Somehow Terrastan's still alive. There we have it. Voodoo's does the job in the end, and eSuba picking up the map. And I've got to say it was shaky, but they did the job in the end with some nice execution there.
Pretty damn good execution. Some not so good player skills, I must say. Stanley didn't do all of the damage he could have done in that T32. Yeah. Could have closed out the game a lot earlier. I think he actually could be sitting at the top of that damage board. He was actually overtaken by Twixo, the guy right next to him in those engagements. But yeah, at the end of the day, very, very good play from the side of eSuba. Biggest play for them was taking down Commandant. Voodoo's from the right, something we haven't seen before actually on Mines for a very long time.
I was scared he outstayed his welcome there. I was surprised he didn't get more shells towards him.
Yeah, because at the beginning, Voodoo's was taking a lot of shells.
Yeah.
But then it just stopped. And then when he could actually sit in that bush, Commandant was spotted. They could get the shots from the front. And then when Commandant reversed, they had Los Coscos on the left with the MX-3090 getting the shots in from behind. So once Commandante was sandwiched, he was taken down. And then it was a 5 versus 4 situation, and eSuba had the hill. They had the upper ground advantage. They could rotate back around onto WUSA. And again, you know, WUSA playing defensively, wanting to draw it out. Seek being in a bad position for no reason at all, trying to scamper away. They kind of put themselves into that loss. It wasn't eSuba playing particularly spectacularly. It was WUSA just being too defensive from the north on Mines, which just doesn't work.
I completely agree, and I was very surprised how defensive they were. I think we described it quite well throughout, and it was really sloppy from them. I wanted more, we didn't get it, and I think the next map being Steps, I've got to say their confidence must be shattered. They've been trying, to do what they can, even in a defensive way, and it's not gone well. How are they meant to now rally themselves together to play a map that does need a little bit of, not necessarily aggression, but good cohesive play? I don't think we can see it coming out from them here. I think this is going to be a game to eSuba.
I think they're going to take it 3-1. Honestly, I think they deserve it as well.
I completely agree. After that last bit of execution on Mines, I think they deserve that.
Yeah, certainly do. And Steps, they're not so good at Prokhorovka, but Steps they've been good at before. Obviously, that's Season 1, which is pretty much, maybe this is Season 2 actually. So, Season 1, which was ended in June the 15th last year. So, Season 1 about 13, 14 months ago. Yeah. That's when eSuba were good at Steps. So, had a lot of practice. Maybe the map's changed a little bit. It's changed quite a lot, in fact. So, they might struggle slightly, but certainly WUSA hasn't been particularly spectacular. They won one map. I think they won once. Maybe they almost won once. And maybe they can do the same against eSuba, but they have to win this one. WUSA were kind of drawn up against Kazna Crew. Maybe they're going to be able to draw up against eSuba. Obviously, 2-1 up now for eSuba. WUSA desperately need that 1 point. eSuba desperately even more need the 3 points.
Definitely, and in my eyes, I'm trying to recall WUSA on this map. I believe they're the ones who played so passively at the very back that they almost lost it from that sort of play when they literally turtled down at the most, further away point as possible. And then I think it was Butcher who constantly came up and, took these shots and worked them down very well. So I'm hoping they don't do something similar to that. I think it'll be a mistake to see them pulling that out. But we have to wait and see because, as I said, I don't think Mines looked good for either of them until it was eSuba just, whether it be luck or just, muscle memory almost of how to play it from, years of playing the game, they kind of had that final execution of a good push. They finally got, I think it was Los Coscos coming over towards that, Lighthouse Island, did some great work there in his 1390 and just caught them out because WUSA were so static. They were not moving. It was like, well, if they're still here, they're screwed. And if they've moved, well, we might be in trouble. Weigh up the pros and cons, and they went for it. Fair play to them.
Yep.
But WUSA, I feel this time, if they play that passive game, they're pretty much gifting the win over.
I'm pretty sure they are. They have to be, because then it's just going to be eSuba to turtle down. It's going to sit in a place on the map, they're going to draw it out, that will give them the win. I'm wondering really if eSuba is going to be picking that 4 or 5 AMX-3090 lineup we've known them to take before. They're pretty infamous for it indeed. Almost being Virtus Pro all those months ago. But so far it's 3 MX-3090s. Stenley in the T32 wasn't impressed with his play on Mines. Maybe he can do better here on Steps than for WUSA. Their lineup is fully locked in. Double MX-3090, double T69, T32, double Tier 1. So a good old solid lineup. Have to be happy with that one. I certainly am. Whether that Stefan can play the T32 well. He didn't play it well against Virtus Pro. Remember that they almost won that.
He really slipped up.
Almost won it. And wasn't aggressive enough because of Stefan. I think they might have gifted that one across towards a draw, which it was. So hopefully he can step up with this one. I must admit, the T32 players are not particularly spectacular across the team. No. It's only a tank that's really started to creep its way back in, kind of in Season 3.
I'm not even a big fan
little bit
of it,
in Season 4. So yeah, it's not something players seem to really appreciate as much as they do the T69, the MX-3090, which they've obviously had a lot of practice on. For me, the T32 is my favorite tank actually at one point. When it had the 30% armor bug, you had 30% more armor, and you could just absolutely annihilate It was incredible fun. Probably the funnest I've ever had was Hanks. Double T32, triple MX3090 final lineup for eSuba.
Which one do you prefer here? Because it looks like eSuba are going to be playing a more passive
Well,
game.
eSuba can certainly draw this one, so for that, all they need is a draw. I have to go with them.
Well, guys, we are now seconds away to find out if maybe WUSA can dig deep enough. So, guys, let's get ready for steps. So welcome into the final map here, and it will be steps as promised. In the north in red it is WUSA, in the south in blue it's eSuba, currently sitting at 2-1 and leading the way here, but we'll find out if they can keep it up and if maybe WUSA can tie this one back up with a victory. That's the best they can do here, is get the victory under the belt to get a tie overall. So what are we seeing so far?
Fluky going for the initial spot. Los Coscos kind of heading into the middle with the MX3090 hot pursuit by KKT Gambo. So a little bit of an interesting, a little bit of aggressive start from eSuba, I must say. Certainly from the north, from the south, it's pretty easy to draw it out. And for WUSA, they are sitting quite happily up in towards a normal positions you would expect from the north. T32 sitting hull down, T69's doing very much the same. So both teams pretty much the same tactic from both the north and the south. I have to say with the double T32, if eSuba can get in the better positions, maybe even flank around alongside those three MX3090s, they could actually take down WUSA for a third victory.
I really want to see them do this, but Voodoo's already receiving a little bit more damage than expected, down to 1018 early on, but still such a hefty bit of metal that he's in. It can take a couple of shells before he gets in trouble, but KT Gambo there also possibly being taken down a little bit sloppy from eSuba at the very start, and obviously they won the draw. They won the win, not the draw, obviously, excuse me. But I'm hoping we can see something from them. I want to see them not just, sit back passively. We saw it being the undoing of WUSA. I don't want it to be the undoing of the team that worked so hard on mines. And so far, which start are you preferring?
Well, WUSA have the damage, so you kind of have to say they are doing better. And I must admit, Voodoo's position is very questionable. He's not really hulled down. You can still hit the front of his frontal mantlet, upper glacius even, sorry. And whether that's really going to be a good position for him going through the game is questionable. And the T32 a little bit too slow to flank around, so that's not going to help him at all. But he's got Los Coscos, KTT Gambo, and Twixo very impressively going aggressive and keeping the information going and flowing into the side of eSuba. Whether they can use that effectively, we'll have to wait and see, obviously. But certainly not a team that looks like want to go for the draw. Stenley having a little crack across those hills, not connecting onto anything from WUSA, so just a little bit of a back and forth. As I said before, all eSuba need is a draw. WUSA need a win to get the 1 point, and eSuba, if they win, they still keep those 3 points, but they obviously walk away with a better map difference, which could be very important for a team that's sitting, lower down those league tables, when all the teams at the end of the season have the certain amount of points, the same amount of points. We do look at the map difference, who's won against who. They kind of go into a mini league, and that's obviously one of the most interesting things to see. Is Stefan gets spotted, Los Coscos stays in the same position, but KKT Gamma does go a little bit more aggressive for eSuba.
Yeah, and I'm worried we're going to see a passive game here from WUSA, because it worked against Kazna Crew to give them the draw in the end, because Kazna made those mistakes. I'm hoping we don't, and you can see Twixo there. Great work from him, taking Terra very low, but and Schnitzel, nice work from Twixo, allowing the shot to come through from his teammates, and that Schnitzel down. That's dangerous for WUSA. They can't really afford to be losing players like that. No,
that's not good stuff at all. They tried to bait out Twixo then, but he actually just went 2 versus 1. They didn't expect Los Coscos to be in the middle. They thought they could, send one tier 1 around a little bit, take a little bit of damage, send the other tier 1 around, and finish off Twixo, but they just couldn't, and he got both taken down. So both tier 1s for the side of eSuba.
But it looks like it's forcing a move from WUSA now. They're going to be making their way down the northeast side. I'm not sure if they're going to be completely uncontested here. Voodoo's has popped up. You can see that turret Turning around, Stanley will be the first on the scene, and it's actually not going to stop. Laurel's just pushing straight forward. It looks like WUSA want to get aggressive in here. Can they find any kills, though? This could be dangerous.
They actually missed those AMX 1390s. Now they have to deal with the T32.
Well, let's see if they can. Siege there, and Laurel trying to do the damage, and already Laurel Anthus has gone down now. Siege is down on his own in a 1v3 situation. One more shell will do it. Even a strong breeze might have taken him down. We are seeing the cap beginning, but still, Stefan trying to hold back 3 tanks. Killer Pit, nowhere really to be found. Trying to focus down Voodoos. They take Voodoos out, but they've lost 2 for a 1, and it's not enough really. Lost Koskos coming in off that fantastic tier 1 work. Killer Pit is looking dangerously low. This could be all over before it began.
Stanley really has to do a good job against Stefan, but he does do a good job. Takes him out. Killer Pit left.
Well, Killer Pit left on nothing as well. And well, Commandante is so far away. He's in his own little world, and Los Koskos takes Killer Pit out of this one. So still, only Commandante really with anything to do here. He's going to have to try and stop the cap, maybe. But you'd have to go in a 1v4 situation and walk out the victor. I don't think it's going to happen today. It looks like eSuba will be picking up a 3-1 win, in my opinion.
Not really sure why Twixo KKT just died. He tried to shoot the front of a T69. I mean, do everything you can for the win. Don't actually extend over. You could really bait out Commandante and stop him from running away so quickly. But eSuba are probably going to go for the draw, send the AMX 1390s around. Brilliant shot there from Mirage. But as I said before, send those AMX 1390s of Los Koskos and Mirage onto Commandant and keep the T32 in the cap.
Well, here we go. 4 minutes left. Commandante, last man standing. Can he survive for this long and do anything with it? Because, well, at the moment, eSuba obviously 2 maps to the good. Los Koskos on the prowl. Commandante is literally like an animal being hunted down by wolves here. Los Koskos around the side. He doesn't know where these guys are, but he knows they're going to be close. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And well, Mirage and Stanley moving in as well. This is not a pretty sight, to be honest, as Commandante will try and find a way here. And he's just going to spot out Los Koskos. Los Koskos buying the time, using it perfectly, because he knows that WUSA have to go for the victory here. There's no other way for it. Mirage will be joining in now, and it's going to be a soon more aggressive side from eSuba coming in for the kill rather than the staying alive factor, as Los Koskos using the hills perfectly to his advantage, using those defilades and the peaks to hide himself in. Now moving around for the shot. He does get the first one off as well. Doesn't get the second. Here we go. Commandante can do some damage, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And there you go. Round the backside. Mirage enjoying this. He's just going to take him down. One more shell, surely. There we have it. eSuba walking away with a 3-1 victory. Stanley, Los Koskos and Mirage claiming that one in the end. And well, 3-1 victory overall. I feel it was deserved.
It was certainly deserved. Brilliant play on ENSK. Lost it on HIMMELSDORF a little bit. Cliff as well, they did very, very well. Almost beat WUSA. They just needed a couple more minutes. They had the more HP. Finally took it on steps as well. Mines a very, very good job indeed. Just, I have to say, WUSA looking not so good suddenly. They were the better team going into this matchup. Didn't expect them to win. I didn't expect eSuba to win, but I expected WUSA to do so, or at least draw it out. But on steps, they made that decision to push the AMX 1390s around, which 30 seconds before would have been the right decision, because they would have found Mirage and one of the other AMX 1390s. I think it was fluky. But instead, they found Stenley in the T32. He had literally just moved into that position. So you met a T32, you wouldn't be able to do very much damage against it, and then that allowed Los Koskos and Mirage and the rest of the eSuba crew just to jump off that hill and find WUSA on the lower ground. So all in all, good decision making from eSuba, looking like a much better team. Completely
agree, and maybe, as you said, the launching platform for them to start rising through those ranks, because well, they definitely need it, as they were in 12th position down the very bottom there. So getting that under their belt will be a brilliant thing for them. That will really get them kind of building up, and hopefully we see a little bit more improvement overall from them. But now it's time to start looking at the big guys here. The teams that have been certainly doing some real damage. Krasnokru second in the rankings. Big players so far in this. Facing off against C-Play, who showed a lot of potential early on very specific maps. Actually, sadly for C-Play, they are just down as low as pretty much eSuba was. But C-Play showed me a lot more of what we could do here. But then again, Krasnokru have been absolutely phenomenal. I feel it's a very tough opponent for them.
We'll have to see. I'm hoping C-Play actually has picked themselves back after those 2 not unnecessary losses, but they should have beaten Evil Panda Squad in my opinion.
I agree.
But Krasnokru have been looking unstoppable, and they have been getting better and better every single match day. I honestly think they're going to be a top 3 at the end of this season. at the offline finals, let alone the online stage where, well, Kazna can be arguably said to be worse. They're obviously better offline from previous results. Only started to get that trait recently, though. They were famously very bad beforehand. But yeah, I think C-Play is going to put some good tactics against Kazna, but it's going to be a test for them. But it's going to be a good test, and I think they're going to be taking the win away.
I tend to agree, but I'd love to see some big plays coming out of C-Play. So guys, do stay tuned, obviously. And even before that, the incredible Melly will be joining you after a very short break to tell you guys at home how to get involved with us here in the studio. So guys, we'll be back in about 6 minutes, but Melly will be up first with some social media breakdowns. So guys, do stay tuned.